this is definitely recording now. It says preparing to live stream, but
nice. Yeah, it looks live. Yeah. Feels live.
Yeah, there you go. There's me saying this is definitely recording now as it started. On my second monitor, so I'm looking this way. All right. We will wait 1 to 2 minutes. Get some chair file in. Come on in.
Hello,
I talked
welcome.
yesterday. I should compose music for this so that we're not just sitting here. Like,
oh, I mean, we can compose some music with our mouths.
well, that sounds like you offered, so please.
Like, sorry, I won't do that.
That was pretty good. I think I'm going to use that as you may have permission to use that as the basis of the music I make for this.
Yeah, the original Van Kev theme song.
Yeah, I'll build it off of that.
Cool.
All right, so yeah, if people are watching, if you're not, that's fine. You'd live in your lives, but we'll wait another minute or two. I'm looking at us slightly delayed from live. And I'm also saying hello in the chat. Just watch me type. What an exciting time for all. But don't wait too long because really it doesn't matter. It's recorded. We're on YouTube. It goes right to being recorded. And the joy of the future in a way is you can watch it whenever you want.
Oh, it stays on there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, unless you'd like to remove it, we can also remove it.
No, I love it. Love an archive.
All right. Well, I will just get the train a rolling then. So thank you. Welcome, anyone watching, coming to the Beta ABC closing panel. My name is Jared Evan Sampson. I am the festival director here at VanCaf. My pronouns are he, him. And I've been putting this together all this week, sitting alone in my apartment. So I appreciate if you've taken any time to come and do this, and appreciate everyone being a part, including today, our collaborative poster panel with the poster artists, Madeline Berger and Pia Moria. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
I would like to take a second. Oh, sorry, yeah, I set you both up. I apologize. I'd like to take a moment to just acknowledge the Vancouver Comic Art Festival and our activities are organized and take place on the unceded and stolen territories of the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Musqueam peoples, and that we as a settler organization have a responsibility beyond a land acknowledgement to platform support, pay, and program, and allow in the curatorial process Indigenous voices in our community, and that we are committed to that and developing further relationships to increase meaningful support and programming with Indigenous creators in our community. And if you ever feel like we're falling down or you have any comments about that, anything else we're doing, I'm always available. You can send me an email at jarrett@vancap.com, JARRETT@vancap.com. Any more of a comment, any question, any concern, I'm always here and I'd love to hear them. We're committed to our community and to doing as much as we can to being the best part of our comics community here as we can be. I'd also like to take a quick moment to thank some of our sponsors. We have a lot, but primarily none of this programming could have happened without the wonderful support of the Alliance Française Vancouver and the Consulate General of France in Vancouver. Thank you so much everything you've done for supporting this festival. Capilano University as well. Thank you so much for your ongoing sponsor, Pulp Fiction Books. There's plenty more that I'm now not going to think of because I didn't write them down. But yeah, thank you. Also, you can go see them on the website. It's not good content. And with that, I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves, and then we will start talking a little bit about their work and the poster and everything that went into it. Madeline, do you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Madeline. My pronouns are they, them. I live in Vancouver. I'm a comics artist. I am eating blueberries. And happy to be here.
So I guess it's my turn. So I'm Pierre. I live in south of France in Toulouse. And happy to be here too. It's nighttime for me. And I make comics for like 20 years, I guess. That's it.
I mean, but yeah, that's a lot of work too. That's it. 20 years of work. That's it.
More or less. I'm 44 and I started like when I was 20.
Wow.
So yeah. Having different jobs all along most of the time.
And so the reason we're doing this, of course, to mark the close of the festival with the both of you, is that you together created the wonderful poster for our BDA BC event. BDA BC. I keep screwing up the joke. So
That sounds
yeah.
great.
How I want to talk a little bit about the process as well, because working collaboratively as artists, especially obviously across a distance and without having met, seems like it could be challenging. So how did like the two of you approach working on the poster collaboratively?
To me, it was like very smooth. I've already collaborated with different people and it was not like that. And we just figure it out, send the version, correct, send it back. And it was like smooth. I guess Madeline slept while I worked and vice versa because of the jet lag.
Yeah, slept like a baby. But
I mean, nighttime, daytime.
Yeah,
the day and the night shift on the poster.
Yeah, but it was kind of nice in terms of that kind of time delay, because it was about like a day back and forth that like we would have time to revise and like change things, and felt like a comfortable amount of time. I didn't feel rushed, and it also felt like we had our own time to like play around with it and play around with different drawings and ideas.
Yeah.
That's it. So the concept for it, like, did it come pretty quick, or I mean, obviously, like one of the things I like to do is be like, leave it to the artists, and then to see this realized concept so quickly, did it spring to mind, or like how did sort of the idea for the poster theme come about?
If I remember correctly, Madeline, you said you wanted like something next with a bike, and someone wandering with a bike, and so we figured it out pretty quick, and we shared the elements each one would draw.
Yeah, and you drew out a very helpful kind of map on terms of the size of the poster, and kind of like mapped out different blobs of like who would do what. But yeah, I think the beginning inspiration for the concept was because I really wanted to draw a bike.
I loved it because it's so, as well, like represented a wonderful theme of what we were doing, because for me it's like traveling. French comics come west, and we have a traveling to the coast, and also being that half of this week has been programmed where it's going to look nice actually on my window, but it's just been gray and miserable and rainy. It was like, this is the best of what the weather is like here, and so it's like a nice representation of like a physical ideation of coming here and bringing like the positivity and bringing the comics literally west. Yeah, I loved it. I don't know, the biker looks like a traveler to me as well.
You said you
cart full of junk.
Yeah, you said you wanted to draw a bike and some camping gear.
Yeah. And I think, you had the idea of like the kind of camping out on the beach, which was nice. And you took on the figure drawing, which I was thankful for, because it's not my favorite.
Yeah, that's the view I have from Vancouver, seen from here. I've never been there, and it's like looks like a big city with water and forest aside, like a postcard.
Yeah, I guess it's a very iconic view of that side of town. Yeah, for sure.
One of the things I thought was so amazing, I mean, when I got that poster, I just lit up. I was like, oh, it's so great, so perfect. But a thing that I never could have predicted is that it feels so fluid and feels like one full realized piece. Like I had no ability for myself to tell, who's doing what. And I think that was very like, in my mind, a collaborative poster is going to be like, oh, two disparate elements from two artists, and they combine them, but it's like two puzzle pieces together. But it was this one fully realized piece that if I had not known, would have thought was the work of one person. And so I thought it was such a testament to how well you work together that it looked so incredible and cohesive.
Yeah.
That's more of a
Thanks,
comment than a question.
Yeah, I actually have never done something like that. Like I've never collaborated on like just a flat illustration. So that was really neat to it was a real joy for me to like fit in like my tiny little like nonsense drawings like into like someone's more full figured things, like just to fill it up with like dense lines. So that was exciting to do with someone else.
Yeah, so same for me, because I draw really, really, really small too. My pages are like this,
Yeah.
So when Jared came for the poster, I was like, oh, too big. I can't draw big, so I was stressed. And since you said you were drawing small, I said, okay, cool.
Good. What size pen do you use?
Pen?
Yeah.
I use this.
Oh, like a
08.
micron, yeah.
Yeah,
08.
micron 08. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's I mean that's a pretty big pen to use for like for like if you're drawing at that size. So
yeah, but I don't know why, but I hold it like not upright, but really like this, so it makes like
get the edge
lines.
Yeah. Cool.
That's something I hadn't even considered, I guess. Were you both I mean, I don't know why. Like, I never know when people now are working physically or digitally. Were you both doing this art physically or digitally, or physically and scanning it, or how was the process on both your ends? Wow.
Oh, sorry. What?
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I did the original drawing that I sent you both, like by hand, and then all the edits I did on my computer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, me too. I tried to see on my screen what goes where, and draw it on paper and then Photoshop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. I guess I just assumed digitally. Wow, that's man, I love that. That's great.
Personally, I can't I can't draw digitally. I don't like it because you don't see I tried already, and you're always zooming on some parts, and so you don't see the whole picture.
It's true.
And it makes strange distortions in the end to me. So it's not for me.
No. Yeah, I can never do an original drawing on the computer. Like it just doesn't look the same. It doesn't look like my art, and it kind of makes me sad.
Wow. Yeah, I won't.
Cheaper.
That is certainly true. Except nowadays, apparently. Nowadays, paper hot demand. They gotta keep printing those Chainsaw Mans.
It's true.
I wanted to ask you as well both about your work, because I feel like a lot of your work is sort of rooted in very similar scenes and communities. Where I mean, Pierre, one of your older books that is in English, Blackbird, put out by Conundrum Press, is really about zines and about zines. It's a sort of dystopic with zines being illegal and coming out of this community sense, and plays with that a lot. And obviously, Madeleine, your work comes a lot in the same way from like community and your local community. Yeah, and I was curious like how much zine or like small press inform either of your works. So it seems a lot to me, but maybe I'm making it up.
To me, I come from there. I always made some zines. I still make some. So beside of making books at real publishers, I still feel the need to make a zine like once a year. It's like some have some change in your some change like coins, you know, in your pockets when you go to festival, so you can trade. So you make zines.
Yeah, it's a currency.
Yeah, that's it.
That's funny.
If I go to a big festival and I didn't make a zine, I feel like I'm not legit, you know.
Yeah. And also like it's kind of inaccessible only to have like one book that costs like $30 and someone comes up and they're like, oh, I love your stuff. Like, what do you have? And you're like, I have this one book. And you're like, oh, well, that sucks. Like, I guess I'll just like take a business card or something. So like, a zine kind of is like a business card in like a comics community kind of thing, but in a less like capitalist way.
and it's like I need to make books at publishers to make a bit of money, but to make the zine, to read it, I mean to go to the printer, to do the InDesign file, and even sometimes to staple it. It's like 50% of the pleasure.
Totally.
Well, and Pierre, you also publish as well. I mean, like compilation Bento, I know you do with a lot of different artists as well. So, I mean, maybe not zine, but still smaller press and more affordable things, and a lot of short works from different authors and artists.
It's a anthology. I have a few copies. With several cartoonists, French and not French. And it's like upgraded zine because it's offset printed. And but yet there's a zine in the zine.
Oh yeah,
that's so fun.
It's like not to make things all alone. I publish some other cartoonists. I don't know. Yeah. It's like not a need to do it, but a pleasure to do it.
Yeah. How many artists work on each issue, kind of thing? Like 10 or so, or?
Yeah, less than 10, I guess, because it's between 24 and 40 pages each issue.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's a nice size.
Sorry?
Nice size.
Size. Yeah, it's floppy comic size, because I went into indie comics because when I was 14, my parents, we went to vacation in Paris, and there was a bookstore, and they had some hate issue by Peter Page.
Yeah.
And so I was 14, and I started buying this, and it was like, oh wow. I dive into it and sing. So I really like the floppy size.
Yeah, like the traditional size. Yeah.
It's funny, that was also, I mean, I'm not thinking about me, but my same thing is that finding independent comics published in the same format as like Spider-Man comics was how I deeked away from only reading Spider-Man comics. I was like, what is this comic?
Totally.
You know, like Love and I mean, they're a little Love and Rockets or like Concrete or something like that. Started like kicking me down the road into weirder stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice commentary on that kind of more mainstream market as well, to like make something that's like kind of a critique of it, just from the size or whatever. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, sorry, no, I don't know, as well about you, because you have a book coming up. We talked about small zines before, but you do have a book coming up with Cloudscape called Madeline's Good Dirt and Junk Collection.
It's true.
And it is a fact. I was curious about that because I'm a fan of your art, but I love like the glimpse that's given into the idea that you're like use found things in your art. Like you talk about like using physical junk and dirt in the art. And so I was really curious both about the book coming about, and you want to talk a little about that, and also like the process of that, because I was so intrigued by this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot of just stuff I do socially, like with friends and things. Like we're all like kind of scrappy and just kind of digging in places we're not supposed to and kind of making a little bit of a mess. But yeah, I feel like kind of like collection and reusing things is very much kind of how I've been brought up in my community, and kind of learned how to share skills and share learnings with others, and it's very integral to who I am as a person. So like the whole book is just like a big autobiography pretty much, as most comics are for people. But if like it's the first kind of major book that I've put together, and the first one that's been published, and it's kind of just like, oh, like how do I want to put myself out into the world and represent myself, and that's kind of the only thing I could think of. So
oh, that's great. I mean, you do, and like your art is so present in the community here in Vancouver, and I mean around DC in general. And so, yeah, I think that's even just a glimpse is so clearly at the forefront of your artistic practice. I always see, you know, shirts and posters and like things done by you, and so yeah, it's really nice to bring that approach still, or find a way to bring that approach to a more traditionally published book.
Totally, yeah, and I just want something that, yeah, feels like collaborative in a sense, even though it's just a comic.
Yeah.
Like not as collaborative as those like weird books, like those like directional sketchbooks. I don't want to be like in chapters like telling people what to draw. but even though I do, I love a craft time, but you know, different energy.
And Pierre, you also recently had a few things out. I mean, I have not yet seen your newest book, Pas Misère, but I know it's and forgive my French. I do know it's about a small town and community, from what I've gathered, and like the artistic communities under the surface, but as well as a lot of community in the Michel series. He did the 3 books there. And obviously, even the last one, Michel Leton Chizem, is really about the social movement and like someone's place in it who's a little outside of it. And I really liked that book for that, because it's like presenting these things from someone who clearly understands them, but is outside of sort of what's going on. So like, does activism inform, like how much does it inform your work? Because it does seem to be a real theme running throughout your works that I've encountered.
Yeah, I try to talk about what's happening around in the period, but it's not easy since COVID. I was like hesitating about making a new Michel and having the COVID in it, because when I started, I said, yeah, but probably COVID will be over in a few months. Yeah, sure. So I avoid talking about it this time. So, but usually, yeah, I don't see myself making some stories about fantasy or things that don't exist. I can read stuff like that, no problem, or watch a movie like that. Yeah. But to spend a whole year making something, I don't have I feel the need to talk about something that talks to me first.
Well, yeah, and I think the progression from, say, Blackbird, seeing that, which is you know, maybe a similar political comment, but with that sort of veil of science fiction or dystopic fiction, and to see that removed and your work become so much more in the moment is like really interesting, and interesting view on the journey to that, of representing it more as it is.
Yeah, and now I tend more to use comedy, you know, instead of dystopian stuff or more serious stuff, because I feel like telling something a way more fun it makes it easier to get for the reader. But maybe I'm wrong, but
wow, I've made it almost to the end without directly talking about the pandemic of these events, but I'm going to ask you both, because you both had works, you're saying, during the pandemic, or working on them during the pandemic. I mean, how is the approach on it? Like, did it affect anything at all working on your work during this obviously thing we've all been dealing with for almost 2 years now. But especially like preparing your books and knowing the world state that it's going into is something I also am very sympathetic for, having had an album come out and just disappear into a global catastrophe. So yeah, was there anything in mind doing your works with that in mind, like preparing these works during COVID?
For me, I got approached to do the book during the pandemic, and I think I kind of wanted a project, so that's kind of why I did it. Because I needed a little bit more stimulation than what I was currently getting creatively. So I was just like, ooh, here's like a project I can sink my teeth in to. Maybe like the content would have changed, and it might have not have been like as self-reflective and insular if it wasn't a pandemic. Like it might have been more about like my friends or like my experiences with like the outside world. But I think it was still like a pretty good time. I like, it didn't make me too like depressed to do or anything, so which is number one.
To me, during the pandemic, I was like, at first I was afraid because I had no money coming, so I made some tiny drawings, drawings in a sleeve that I sold on via Facebook or whatever. So I made a bit of money like that, and then there was some financial helps that came by the government, and so I went back to my usual comics. But like I said, I didn't want to talk about it so early because I felt like we didn't know how it was gonna change, and so I'm that's weird because I don't know if I'm answering the question properly, but
no. There's no right answer. It's fine.
The COVID in fictions, there was like just after the first lockdown, there were many books with like lockdown diary, lockdown fiction and stuff. So it was a rush, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I guess.
I like. Go ahead.
I was saying, I guess more. Yeah, it was like knowing this, or you're saying like no money coming in, and like even we're talking about festivals or like making zines going. It's sort of, or same where you worked on this book because you're saying you're redirected because your community sort of opportunities closed down. It's more like, did the parameters of knowing, of having this in place and like having all these worries affect your ability to work at all, or like did it make it harder to work on this? And also, was Pasniseo was part of like a residency that you had done or something during this time? Is that correct, or am I making that up?
Yes. Yes, it was like a long-term residency in the center of France, in the region area that's called Périgord, and it was in a suburb of a tiny city in a how do you say, project that was about to be destroyed, demolished. So the company that organized the residency had for 2 years an apartment for free, and so they settled in the apartment and made some cultural animations in the neighborhood, which is a really poor neighborhood. And so with many cartoonists, we went there regularly. So I went for like 2 years, and 1 week there, 1 week there. And I wrote this fiction and I published it, which is inspired by what goes in the neighborhood.
Yeah, the book seems very, the description very similar to what you're describing of the creation of it.
So less of a residency, more of just like a shared experience.
Sorry?
Less of a residency, more of like a shared experience with others in a direct community kind of thing. I guess. No.
Mm-hmm.
But we had plenty of time to. They didn't ask us to have a result. They let us go take our time, meet the people, and so I made a fiction book, but some other cartoonists made some exhibitions, not necessarily a book.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, that's
so
nice.
more, support for like whatever the artist wanted to do, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I've taken up enough of your time. It's early and late, depending where you are, and I really appreciate both of you being here. Is there anything before we go that either you'd like to say or promote, or last chance, whatever you'd like to get out there into the wide world of the wide world?
That's a heavy loaded question, Jarrett. Thinking on my toes here. I don't know. Look through all your stuff you have in your house, and if you don't need it, give it to people who need it. It's cold outside. That's my statement.
Good statement. Pierre, anything you would like to end on?
No, I was just curious because I said like I was when I was 14, I came into floppy comics, indie comics, and like floppy almost don't exist anymore. And I was curious about Madeline, how you came into indie comics.
Oh, yeah, definitely through zines and kind of like zine fairs, very small scale stuff, like sometimes even happening at like people's houses, including like my own house that I lived in at the time. And it was just like my favorite way to make friends, and really like the only way I knew how to was to like share a little book and like share a funny joke about it and be like, hey, do you want to be my friend? Like, here's a little book I drew. And this is, I mean, nothing has changed. This is still what I do. But yeah, comics making for me was like just a way to connect and a way to like understand other people. So that's kind of what's kept me around too, doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Just curious.
Yeah.
I'm always curious, but then I always feel like I shouldn't ask people. So I'm glad that you asked. You got in the comics. That's when I'm like, oh, they're gonna fire me. Yeah, man. Thank you both being here. It was so lovely, wonderful to talk to you. Wonderful to have both of you work on the poster, to meet the both of you for the first time, see each other, and get to talk to you. Thank you again for your efforts on the poster, which is incredible. Thank you for doing the panel. And thank you for being here, much as you started it with your poster, to bring Bede ABC to a close, as this is the last event for the inaugural festival. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And on that note, I'm going to stop streaming, and I'm going to say thank you all for watching. I'm looking here at the YouTube, but thank you if you for watching now, in the future, never watching, for living your life and doing the best thing you can do. And thank you to everyone who came and supported and did all they could. And thank you especially to our wonderful poster artists for the absolutely beautiful work you did. I will make sure you both get a copy, and as I get my own hung on my wall. Thank you so much.